A game-changing roster decision for the South Carolina Gamecocks, a depth chart shocker at Oklahoma, week one injuries across the SEC, and ESPN's Holly Rowe stops by to talk LSU Clemson. Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. On today's show, it is here. We had our week one press conferences. Many of the coaches across the SEC speak on Monday. Some speak on Tuesday, but a good bit of them spoke on Monday. We got our pressers for game week. It is here, week one in the SEC. I'm Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, let's jump right into it. Got to waste no time because we got some big news that came out yesterday as Rahsul Faison, South Carolina running back, has been deemed officially eligible by the NCAA. Faison, a transfer from coming over to the Gamecocks this offseason, has been in limbo with regards to what his status was going to be for this season. And with days to spare, Faison has been officially cleared to play. South Carolina announced the news on social media. He's a former JUCO player, and like many former JUCO players, it was believed Faison would be granted a blanket year of eligibility as a result of that Diego Pavia landmark legal battle. But Faison's case proved to be more complicated as his 5-year clock had already expired. He was initially a member of the 2018 high school recruiting class. I mean, I think John Emery was in that group too, who's now at UTSA. But in the end, Faison granted another season of eligibility. Massive news for him and for Gamecock fans. Faison is expected to be the Gamecock starting running back. And man, just a huge get for the Gamecocks. Obviously, had a breakout year at Utah State last year. Saw him rush for over 1,100 yards. If he had not been cleared to play, South Carolina was going to rely on, some of those guys maybe not such good, or not know if they're workhorses like Oscar Attaway and others. So huge news for South Carolina. And again, Faison last year at Utah State, 1,100 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns for him, averaged 5.6 yards per carry. Look, Shane Beamer and company are celebrating that. That's huge news for them. Is it going to be good in the SEC? We'll find out. But two guys I'm banking on. Ahmad Hardy coming over from ULM to Mizzou. I think he's going to be awesome. And then Rahsul Faison coming from Utah State to South Carolina. I think he's set for a huge year. Speaking of running backs, a little bit of some odd news over at Oklahoma. As yesterday we saw Oklahoma's depth chart come out, and it got fans to talking because Oklahoma released their first depth chart on Monday, and it's got former Cal running back who transferred in this offseason, Jaydn Ott, listed as Oklahoma's number 3 running back on the depth chart. And a lot of folks going, what in the world? This was our big offseason acquisition. We got John Mateer at quarterback. We got Jaydn Ott at running back. Well, some folks on social media saying all that money for a third string running back, interesting. Another one said, what's the deal Ott not being running back 1? Some people giving shout out to Javante Barnes, who's a senior. One guy said Barnes starting is concerning, but maybe they're trying to preserve fresh legs for next week against Michigan. One level-headed OU fan did say, for anyone freaking out about Jaydn Ott, I'd like to remind you it's the week 1 depth chart, and Ott had been nursing a shoulder injury through the last few weeks of camp. So, look, it may all be much ado about nothing. Oklahoma does open with Illinois State, so it's not like it's, some big make-or-break game for them. But it did make me think about Ott in the down year he had last year at Cal. Remember, everybody else brings up the 2023 season where he had 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. And, yeah, the narrative was he wasn't fully healthy last year, wasn't the same. Did play in 10 games, had 116 carries, but just 385 rushing and 4 rushing touchdowns. That's just 3 yards a carry. compared to his over 5 yards a carry he had his 2 seasons prior. So, again, I think he's going to be good. I think he'll end up being the guy at Oklahoma, but just something to watch. You know, one of those things where sometimes we just assume things like, oh, yeah, that guy's going there is going to be the starter. We don't know. Got to let that thing battle its way out. Maybe Barnes had a great camp and jumped him on the roster. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But if I was a betting man, I would say Jaydn Ott will end up being the starting running back at OU sooner rather than later. All right, how about over at Texas A&M? Some significant news yesterday from them. Mike Elko talking with the media. The Aggies giving an update on their star running back, Lavian Moss. He had been recovering from a season-ending knee injury he suffered last November in the loss to South Carolina. Well, Mike Elko had mentioned this past summer the main goal was to get Moss back up to full speed at practice, reacclimate him to full contact. Elko told reporters on Monday that he is, quote, good to go for Saturday. Moss looking to pick things up last year where he was a stud, but really a backfield loaded with Amari Daniels, Reuben Owens, who got hurt at the start of last year, former 5-star recruit, expecting big things out of him. So, look, even if Moss isn't going to get like 20 carries, I don't think he will on Saturday against UTSA, you know, maybe you give him 5 to 10 and let the other guys pick up the load. I think that would be fine as well. So we'll see how they use him. A few other notes here on A&M. They will be without one of their more experienced O-linemen to start the season. Reuben Fothery, sidelined with a lower leg injury and will miss, quote, the first few games of the season, according to Mike Elko. He's a senior offensive lineman, Reuben Fothery. And you look at A&M's schedule, they open with UTSA. They have Utah State in week 2, but then Notre Dame and South Bend in week 3. When you say he'll miss the first few games, I think a lot of Aggie fans saying, do you mean 2 or 3? Fothery's got 41 career appearances for the Aggies, former 4-star recruit. And they're going to rely heavily on junior guard Chase Basantis, redshirt senior Demetrius Crownover. See how they hold up against UTSA this weekend. One more note on Texas A&M. They're going to be without one of their talented freshman wide receiver, Jerome Miles, going to miss the entire 2025 season, according to On3's Pete Nakos. Miles came to the Aggies from Corner Canyon High School, number 19 2025 recruit, top player from the state of Utah. He was A&M's 27th best recruit all time, and he is going to be sidelined the whole year with an injury, a, quote, lower body injury. So Jerome Miles, we'll look for him in 2026 as an Aggie. How about over at Florida? Billy Napier giving us an update on DJ Lagway's health. Napier saying on Monday, DJ has been a 100% participant here in practice for several days. He's having a lot of fun playing football and competing. So a little bit of a sigh of relief for Florida fans that were maybe worried about the lower body injury, the shoulder injury, all the stuff he's had this offseason. Florida will take on Long Island on Saturday in the Swamp. How about over at Georgia? Kirby Smart letting us know one of his starters could miss week 1. Not significant. It's going to be punter Brett Thorson. Senior from Australia, was a Ray Guy Award finalist, tore his ACL in last year's SEC championship win over Texas. Smart said Monday he's continued to kick. I don't know if he'll be kicking in this game. Hasn't been decided yet. It'll be one of those things we decide by the end of the week. Update keeps the situation uncertain heading into the opener against Marshall at Sanford Stadium this weekend. Special teams coordinator Kirk Benedict said earlier this month that Thorson was on track in his recovery. If he can't go, redshirt freshman punter Drew Miller will likely be in line to start. How about over at Auburn? Hugh Freeze giving us an update on Eric Singleton Jr., the transfer from Georgia Tech, highly touted. He's been dealing with a knee injury, a minor knee issue, suffered during fall camp, been somewhat limited in the build-up to the season. But Hugh Freeze saying Monday, Singleton looked good yesterday. I think he's close to being 100%. We'll continue to protect him a little bit, get him some conditioning, but he'll be ready to give it a go, Lord willing, if nothing else happens this week. Again, Singleton expected to be a big part of that offense with Cam Coleman and others. Auburn kicking off Friday night, Baylor, 7 p.m. Central. Going to be a fun one for Hugh Freeze and company. How about over at Alabama? Kalen DeBoer speaking to the media on Monday, confirming that starting right guard Jaden Roberts remains a question mark for the Tide in their season opener against Florida State. Jaden Roberts, a fifth-year senior, been sidelined due to a concussion. DeBoer saying Roberts is still a question, what he's going through in concussion protocol, but he is progressing. Alabama will likely turn to senior Gino Vandemark, who played in all 13 games for Bama last year. DeBoer said we threw him out there for a couple series a game last year, and he did a great job. We referred to him as a Swiss Army knife guy, so he's really valuable to us. So you feel like you don't miss a beat. And he was competing for a starting job in the first place. Of course, the Tide will also be without running back Jam Miller the first couple weeks of the season. Now, Alabama defense coordinator Kane Womack speaking with the media yesterday, and he was asked about Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback that transferred from Boston College to Florida State. He's been talking all this trash in the offseason. Kane Womack telling reporters Castellanos is hard to tackle. He said, quote, we will have our work cut out for us. It'll be as challenging as we have probably had as far as creating negative plays on a quarterback. So, Castellanos talking the trash, Kane Womack giving the praise. Oh, man, we're going to have our work cut out for us. He's hard to tackle. So we'll see on that one. One other note in this game, Mike Norvell, talking about former Tennessee wide receiver, now FSU wide receiver, Squirrel White, said full expectation is Squirrel is going to play. He was able to practice the last couple of days. Really pleased with him in just his process. Came off at the second scrimmage, had a great outing, scored a long touchdown. He's done a great job. He's a veteran receiver and a guy that's performed at a very high level. So Tennessee fans, you want to see Squirrel White, he'll be playing for FSU this Saturday. How about over at Kentucky? They officially naming Zach Calzada the starting quarterback there. Pete Thamel confirming that news yesterday morning. He's a seventh-year senior, started his career at Texas A&M in 2019. Of course, had a stop at Auburn and Incarnate Word before landing in Lexington. Calzada had a career year last year, led Incarnate Word to an 11-win season, had career highs in attempts, completions, passing yards, touchdowns with 35, also rushing yards with 332 rushing yards. So what will Calzada do for Kentucky? I think we're all waiting to see there. At LSU, Brian Kelly confirming that Harold Perkins will indeed wear number 7 again, said just felt right having Harold finish off with number 7 because he didn't get a full season with it last year. Of course, the number 7, very important number there at LSU. Also, the iconic number 18 confirmed that quarterback Garrett Nussmeier going to be wearing that one. Started with Matt Mock and that LSU championship back in 2003. Josh Heupel over at Tennessee, not confirming who will be the backup quarterback to Joey Aguilar. He said, quote, you guys will find out on Saturday when the depth chart comes out. I would think Jake Merklinger, be a shocker if George McIntyre, in my opinion. And then lastly, over at Texas fans could get a little bit of a delay in watching the Fox game of Texas-Ohio State because of a YouTube TV dispute. One of the few SEC games that is airing on Fox, and fans might have to scramble. You might have to go buy an antenna from Walgreens or something. Awful announcing reporting that 4 p.m. Central on Wednesday is the deadline for an agreement between Fox and YouTube TV. If they're not able to come to an agreement, the game will be blacked out on YouTube TV. And again, it's Fox, so it's an over-the-air channel. You can get an antenna and watch it that way. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming on next, excited to talk some college football with the great Holly Rowe from ESPN. That's coming your way here in just a second. Hey, first, I want to remind you guys, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. And for just 24 hours, FanDuel is going to give you deals on the NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP shot, you're eyeing a long shot division winner, or you're just ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. I've had some people tell me they got some good odds there at FanDuel.com on teams like the 49ers. You want to take a real shot at the Chicago Bears, you can get some really good odds on some long shot teams to win their division or certainly win the Super Bowl. And you can find that at FanDuel. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning out those future bets. Again, that is coming up today, August 26th, officially FanDuel Futures Day. When you're listening to this, FanDuel, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. Visit FanDuel, play your game. It is FanDuel. That is the spot to go. One other note here, guys. Want to remind you that we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners, make your favorite podcast even better. It's your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Right along here, Locked On SEC, and a pleasure now to be joined by one of the faces of college football. She is Holly Rowe of ESPN, doing some great work with Allstate, the NACDA Good Works team. Got to honor a great student athlete over the weekend. We're going to talk about that. But first, Holly, great to have you on. Thanks so much for taking some time.
I'm happy to be here. I am literally sitting here prepping all my college football games this weekend. So I'm hot and heavy on college football, ready to rock.
Well, first out of the gates, Holly, I got to mention 20 years ago, I was a student, got a chance to work with not once, but twice with the great Holly Rowe. ESPN came to town. I think it was ESPN2 at the time. I got to be one of those people carrying it was like a monitor on a stick. So when they came to you for the live hits, I had to hold it up so you could see yourself when they're throwing it to you, all this. And to this day, I still tell everybody how extremely nice Holly Rowe was to work with. So,
oh gosh, I'm glad to hear that.
20 years ago.
I love it. I'm glad to hear I was nice, because I can also be very demanding of those people. Because like, hey, let's go, and you run, and then you lose people in the dust, and I'll be like, let's go. You're the young student here. You got to keep up with me. So I'm glad I was nice to you.
Yeah, and a very cool opportunity for a lot of you. And you were a student, media person and all this. So cool opportunity that ESPN and Quackman and all these different production groups do with student athletes all throughout the years to get to work. Because honestly, like doing that, seeing the behind the scenes and all that gets you interested more into the field. And for some people maybe go, oh God, this is way more work than I thought it would be. Maybe I don't want to go on this route.
You know, what's funny, Chris, is I did that same job for Adrian Karsten, who was a very famous, wonderful sideline reporter, Jack Arute, Dr. Jerry Punch. So like I was the runner, I would pull cables, or I would hold the lights or the monitors or what have you for other sideline reporters. And they were kind to me. And so I hope that I paid that forward, but it also sparks your, like, hey, I can do this. I see how hard they're working, but I want to be down here and have this great access so I can do it too. So, and now look at you, you're in sports media, and so am I. So I love that that's our little tradition.
Yeah, you have got some great games coming up ahead we will get into. But I want to start here because we have guests on every year talking about all the great work that Allstate does with the Good Works teams. I mean, we've had Tim Tebow, Sam Acho, some great advocates throughout the years. And you're doing your part here. This was quite an honor over the weekend over at Loyola Chicago, helping honor soccer player Aidan Crawford. He was named the first ever fall captain of the Allstate NACDA Good Works team. Had to be so cool because this was a surprise, right?
Yes. So yesterday I got to go to Aidan Crawford plays soccer for Loyola in Chicago, and they had a soccer game. And so before the game, he knew he'd been named to the Allstate Good Works team, but he didn't know that he was going to be named the team captain. So we had this great captain's jacket for him. His whole team was there. His family was there. And Aidan actually started a Special Olympics chapter at Loyola Chicago from scratch. Like they hadn't had one before. They had over 90 volunteers their first year. They were named the best new organization on that campus. So this is a young man who's busy playing soccer. He's great in the classroom, but then starts an organization on campus. And I mean, every time we do these surprises, I cry. I break down in tears because seeing young people who are so focused on others and doing good in the community, I'm just really grateful. You know, Allstate and NACDA shine a light on these student athletes, and they want to showcase all these kids around the country. I think there were over 200 applicants, and Aidan Crawford is named the winner. And like, hey, if these young people can be doing community service and really making a difference in their communities, then so can all of we. It's very inspirational.
I was going to say, I think we don't talk enough about these student athletes that Allstate honors, doing great work in their community, showing leadership and service. Of course, like you said, Aidan working with Special Olympics there in Chicago, but across sports, Ollie, it feels like the negative stories are the ones that make headlines. And with the Good Works team, I mean, there's some really selfless kids out there doing some great work.
Right. And the thing I really love about it is, right, we hear a lot more about the negative stories than the positive stories. So I'm always that person. I want to tell the sunshiny, happy stories. That's kind of been who I've been through my career. And Allstate is doing that. These young people that they're finding and getting nominations from, they're incredible. I can't even tell you, like Paige Beckers is one that was on our spring roster. And Paige started a food pantry at her high school in Minnesota. So if people are coming to school with food insecurity and not having enough food at home, they could shop in her pantry and eliminate food security for kids in high school. Like, think about that. That is like next level, really thoughtful and changing lives. And, there's 100 more stories just like that. So I think it's really special. And then we always hear a lot of negative connotations about NIL. I think people are like, oh, NIL is ruining college sports. I disagree. I think name, image, and likeness, kids benefiting from showcasing who they are, I think it's really positive. But like Aidan, for example, he now gets an NIL deal with Allstate because of his work with the Special Olympics. That's really positive and beautiful. And some of that money is going to go back into Special Olympics. So these are young people who are using their platform and their NIL for good.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And again, anytime we get a chance to platform the great stories for that Allstate and the good works teams are doing, we'll do so. I have more with Holly Rowe in just a second, but guys, you've probably heard of products like Viagra or Cialis, and maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it is time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue, kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. And look, you can even read real customer reviews on their website. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. All you got to do is head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. Use our code LockedOnCollege. Get 15% off today. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege. Use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. We're talking with the great Holly Rowe. Be remiss if I didn't squeeze in a couple college football questions for you. You mentioned a couple of the big games this weekend. We'll start with LSU Clemson. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than this. 2 preseason top 10 teams. We know LSU and Brian Kelly, they have yet to win a season opener in his time there because they played all these tough games. And Clemson, national title hopes, Dabo Swinney trying to build off of last year. I mean, this one, it doesn't get any bigger than this one.
Yeah, I was thinking about this today. I just saw this big preview come on for Texas at Ohio State. And I remember thinking, man, Ryan Day's coming off winning the national championship. He just barely gets his fan base off of his back. And now he hosts Texas. And, Texas can win this game because Ohio State lost a lot of players off that national championship team that went to the NFL. And so I want to say, I hope fans will be patient with these season openers because I love that the coaches are playing them. I love that we get Texas at Ohio State right out of the gate. Same thing for Brian Kelly at Clemson. That's a really hard game. Clemson returns 8 starters on each side of the ball, from their team that got to the college football playoff, including a very experienced quarterback. So I think it's like a scary game if you're a coach that cares about, are you on the hot seat or are fans dissatisfied with you? But I personally love it, and shout out to Brian Kelly and Ryan Day that they're willing to play these tough games and willing to host these tough teams because I think it's good for college football and it's good for fans.
I think the storyline intrigues me most, though, from that game, Holly, is we know how good Kate Klubnik is, but the LSU trifecta. You had Joe Burrow in 18, pretty good quarterback, monumental leap in 19, Heisman Trophy winner. Jaden Daniels in 22, pretty good quarterback, monumental leap in 23, Heisman Trophy winner. Garrett Nussmeier, pretty good year last year, 25. Does he make that monumental leap? I think that's what we're all waiting to see.
I think he's capable of it, and I do think he has more talent around him. I think that they are shored up in some of their areas that they struggled last year, particularly on the offensive line. I think that LSU didn't run the football the way we are used to seeing LSU run the football. I think it took them, 4 or 5 games into the season to really run the ball like I thought they were capable of. So can they run the ball early? That is going to help Garrett Nussmeier, but he has really good receivers that I think are going to make a difference. Chris Hilton is somebody that I point to that he should have a breakout year for Garrett Nussmeier. But then the other piece of that is LSU's defense just didn't have the players up front that we're used to. I think I always say this joke, you can roll out of bed and find All-American linemen in Baton Rouge and LSU. And so I think that them being better, they've brought in a lot of transfers on defense. They might have I think I saw a stat that they might have almost their entire starting defense is in from the transfer portal either last year or this year. So they have brought in talent and tried to elevate their trenches, and I think that's going to showcase in the defensive front. So I think there's a lot of good storylines here, but I do think Garrett Nussmeier can take a big step forward. He's a young man with a lot of moxie. I got to talk with him and meet with him a bunch last year. And I love his swag. I mean, he's just got, like, whatever it is, he's got it. So I'm excited to see what he does. And then on the Clemson side, Cade Klubnik, I don't think this got talked about enough last year, but he is one of the only quarterbacks in the country last year that had more than 30 touchdown passes and fewer than 5 interceptions. So he had some turnover issues, and he ended the season with, I think, 36 touchdowns, 6 turnovers. So, in this game, I think early games, turnovers are the biggest thing that you can look to if you're, betting, or if you want to see what the outcome is. The turnover margin is a big factor week 1. And I think that Cade Klubnik has limited his turnovers is going to be a really big issue for Clemson and really good in their favor.
We're talking with the great Holly Rowe. You're going to go from Saturday night in Clemson, stay in ACC country, and go over Monday night. You get a chance to be a part of Bill Belichick's debut in college football as a head coach. I got to think storylines abound with that one.
Yeah, it's really exciting. First of all, because TCU is coming into town, and they're coming off a 9-win season, rebounding, kind of from their disappointing year coming off the national championship appearance. And so I feel like TCU is prime. Josh Hoover is a quarterback that more people need to be talking about nationally. He can really, really spin it. I'm in Chicago today, and then I'm going down to TCU football practice tomorrow morning. So I'll get to see Josh up close and have more information for you then. But I think TCU is scary. And now all the hype and all the spotlight is focused on Bill Belichick and him coaching his first game. And can he be as great as he was in the NFL and bring that level of greatness to college? Well, they have a lot of unanswered questions. They have new people at every position that really matters, including quarterback. We're kind of still waiting to hear who they're going to name. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game. 2 pretty evenly matched teams, but I do think TCU has an edge in the quarterback experience and talent maybe right now. So that's going to be fun to watch.
She is the great Holly Rowe. Holly, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. And again, for people who want to find out more information, NACDA.com is where you can find all the great stuff and great teams that Allstate is working with and honoring. And again, tremendous work in honoring a great guy in Aidan Crawford and all the great work that they do with Allstate and the Good Works teams. Really appreciate your time, Holly.
All right. Hey, thanks, Chris. You're in the ESPN Utility Family Alumni Group. So I'll send you some invites for the reunion. Thanks for having me today.
I love it. We'll be back right after this. All right. Thanks again to Holly Rowe for joining us. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And hey, for your second listen, you can check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith's got you covered with all the latest news and rumors around the world of college football. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. It's game week. It's week 1. We'll be talking more about it all throughout this week with some special guests. Keep it locked right here to Locked On SEC. Remember to subscribe to the podcast version and, of course, the YouTube version as well.